Following the disappearance of Peter Falconio in the Australian outback, his girlfriend Joanne Lees tells her side of the story in a change of programme this Monday night at 10:20. That's on ITV1.
Violent protests erupt tonight as European summit ends. Soldiers and civilians hurt as helicopter crashes in Ulster. And extraordinary brawl forces a league match to be abandoned.
The ITV Weekend News with Nicholas Owen.
Good evening. Violence erupted again on the streets of Barcelona tonight as the summit of European leaders there drew to a close. There were running battles between the police and thousands of anti-capitalist and anti-American demonstrators. Masked youths smashed shop windows and threw petrol bombs. Tonight, the authorities said a Briton was among those being held after last night's trouble. From Barcelona, Bill Neely reports.
Serious trouble tonight on the streets of Barcelona as several thousand rioters clashed with Spanish police. There have been running battles across Barcelona's main tourist area. Thousands of tourists scattered as the trouble grew. It began when protesters broke away from a huge march and began attacking banks and businesses and then journalists. The protests were against globalization, against the summit, against American threats on Iraq, against just about anything. Once again, protests have marred a European summit and a city. The summit is over, but the protests and the crisis with Iraq are only just beginning. It was a summit Tony Blair seemed keen to leave. A summit overshadowed, a summit in which the leaders would not discuss Iraq. It's as ever a joy. It's as ever a joy, he says. He doesn't mean it. In the looming crisis with Iraq, few hear back American military action. Mr. Blair will have a job persuading them before he flies to Washington.
What message will you bring from this summit to President Bush on Iraq?
This is something that is very much in the media discussion at the moment, but we're not at the stage of taking decisions on this at all. There's a real sense in which people know that this is an issue that we may have to discuss, but now is not the moment for discussion.
The European Commission President says it's possible the EU won't back American action against Iraq. The protesters here certainly don't, but a massive police operation, 8,500 were on duty, has smothered the violence. Barcelona, though, now joins a string of other cities and summits to be marred by serious trouble. Bill Neely, ITV News, Barcelona.
7 people were injured, 2 of them seriously, when an RAF helicopter crashed in Northern Ireland today. The Puma helicopter came down in South Armagh. The Ministry of Defence said terrorists were definitely not involved. Mark Webster reports.
Army crash investigators were this evening examining the wreckage of the Puma helicopter on the hillside where it came down during a routine flight. Eyewitnesses said it had spun out of control and the tail and main propeller had snapped off.
There were 2 soldiers out on the ground who were injured, but they had apparently got out of it before it crashed, and there were 6 or 8 maybe inside it, just in the main body of the helicopter. There was debris thrown all over the place, and as they took them out, there seemed to be a lot of them very badly injured.
Those soldiers patrolled the area around the crash. An army spokesman said there was no question of any terrorist involvement. All military movements in this area, close to the border with the Irish Republic, and known as Bandit Country, are by air. That's partly because of the difficult terrain and the threat of terrorism. But the army said this was a case of mechanical failure. The investigators now on the ground must establish as a matter of urgency why a helicopter with such a good safety record failed so catastrophically. Mark Webster, ITV News.
There are fresh hopes of a ceasefire in the Middle East tonight after the Israeli Prime Minister Ariel Sharon agreed to hold face-to-face talks with senior Palestinians tomorrow. The announcement came after the United States peace envoy Anthony Zinni held separate talks with the Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat and Mr. Sharon today. Sharon's spokesman said they intended to declare a ceasefire. Downing Street said reports that a compromise deal is being considered that could allow fox hunting to escape a total ban are pure speculation. It suggested hunts would be allowed to continue under licence, as long as it could be shown that they were necessary as a form of pest control. MPs and the House of Lords will vote on the future of hunting next week. More than 300 cancer patients may have lost the chance to have children because their sperm samples have been damaged after a fault at a hospital in Edinburgh. They were stored in a freezer at the Western General Hospital and were being kept for men facing treatment which could have left them infertile. Doctors fear the samples have been ruined. Football now. There were extraordinary scenes today at Sheffield United's nationwide league match with West Bromwich Albion, when it had to be abandoned due to a lack of players. United were reduced to just 6 men. 3 were sent off and another 2 were injured. Felicity Barr explains.
Sheffield United lost their first player after just 7 minutes. Goalkeeper Simon Tracy sent off for handling the ball outside the penalty area. West Brom promptly took the lead, Scott Dobie getting the first of their 3 goals. In the second half, United brought on substitutes George Santos and Patrick Sufo, and the match became a farce. Within 90 seconds, both players were dismissed. Santos' dreadful 2-footed tackle brought down Andy Johnson, and he had to go. In the ensuing brawl, Sufo appeared to headbutt Derek McInnes and was also shown the red card, leaving United with just 8 men, which became 7 when Michael Brown later went off injured. Then, 6 minutes before the end, Rob Ullathorne also pulled up. Under the rules, no team can play with just 6 men, and referee Eddie Wolstenholme abandoned the match. West Brom were leading 3-0. Their furious manager accused United of ordering players off to get the game stopped.
What they've done so far is a precedent. That result must stand. Otherwise, the next game that we're 2-0 down, I'll put 3 subs on and bring 8 off, and we'll play it again.
The fans departed mystified by events. The Football League will decide next week if the 3-0 score stands or the match should be replayed. Felicity Barr, ITV News.
Cricket, and England are celebrating their win against New Zealand in the first test in Christchurch. Victory didn't come quite as easily as they may have hoped, however. New Zealand's Nathan Astell made the fastest double century in Test history, giving the home side a glimmer of hope. Despite his heroics, England eventually held their nerve to take the match. Hollywood's A-list is out in force tonight to see Liza Minnelli tying the knot for the 4th time. The star's preparing to marry her music producer fiancé at a ceremony on New York's 5th Avenue this evening. Among the big names at the event are Matron of Honour Elizabeth Taylor and Michael Jackson, who'll be giving Minnelli away. Here's Angus Walker.
It's the 4th time Liza Minnelli has tied the knot, and her wedding to music producer David Guest is billed as the most lavish yet, with a guest list that includes a bizarre mix of her showbiz friends. Michael Jackson is best man, fellow veteran bride Liz Taylor is matron of honour, and ex-EastEnder Martine McCutcheon is one of the bridesmaids. However, one of the top table guests, Whitney Houston, pulled out at the last minute despite being asked to perform her hit song, The Greatest Love of All, during the ceremony. Perhaps the bride herself will have to fill in.
Life is a cabaret, old chum. Come to the cabaret. Okay?
Over the past 18 months, Liza Minnelli's made an amazing recovery from drug addiction and brain disease, which left her paralysed. The couple plans a honeymoon at a secret destination and say they'll adopt 4 children later this year. Angus Walker, ITV News.
That's it. I'll be back with more news tomorrow. Until then, goodbye.